So this patient uses Flomax, a male, of course, a side port blade. It has quite a Bell's phenomenon, so I'm holding the globe left eye here in position while I make the side port entry. And you can also see that we've marked the cornea at the 90-degree axis. I held them down to begin the incision, actually just to get the keratome engaged. And now I'm wiggling it to enter slowly. His eye's a little soft there. Little sting for a few seconds. So the Flomax eye. First, the pupil usually will dilate a bit with the dispersive OVD, like that. And if you leave that dispersive OVD against the iris, it'll tend to stay dilated better. So that means if you keep your phaco tip in the center as you do the phaco, less chance for the pupil to come down. And the other thing is when you remove the phaco or the INA, you want to decompress the eye, get the IOP down to essentially 0 before you come out. And that way you won't have a pressure gradient that permits the iris to follow. So there's hydrodissection on each side. And then viscodissection, the usual 180. Put a little more visco right along the edge of the iris there. Alright, so to the extent that we run less fluid through the eye, keep the port filled with lens material as opposed to having it filled with other things such as aqueous, the better retained the OVD will be. So that's our goal. Hold the lens still, sculpt it deep, divide it. Quadrant removal.
Quadrant removal.
The other thing is maintain the IOP. Because if the eye gets soft, pupils come down. Wet the cornea. What if the pupil did come down? There's no law against putting more OVD in. Okay, so it's fairly well divided. I'm not convinced that it's 100%, but to my right it may still be adherent. But I don't really care because I'll drag it up like that. So you can see I've kept the phaco tip in the middle of the eye. If you trace out where it's been, it hasn't been very far out in the periphery. As a result, there's still OVD against that iris. And it's usually right near the end of phaco. When I'll see the iris just start to move a little bit. And you can see it came down a little bit there at the end. Now we're going to go to position 0 and let fluid out, and so when I come out the iris doesn't follow. Now I think the pupil's still fine for cortex removal, and it's even large enough for toric IOL insertion to be able to see the marks on toric IOL. Pupil may get a little bigger when we go in and increase IOP here. Yep. A little pressure. Really nice deep chamber. And then a little vacuuming under surface of anterior capsule. Now before we come out, Same thing, lower IOP. Now this incision's hardly leaking at all, if at all. So I want to lower it by going over here and letting fluid out. I'm on position 0. And then when I get pressure real low, I'll come away. Next, OVD injection, central, just wipe off those epithelial cells. Get that posterior capsule a little bit more transparent. Wet the cornea. Good. Yeah, that looks good. So now we're ready for IOL insertion. This would be a typical Flomax eye behavior, which is if you maintain OVD against that iris, you can maintain darn good dilation. So it's quite rare for me to use any type of iris retractors, rings, etc. in these eyes. Okay, so here's our toric IOL. And the marks are set just shy of 90 there. You can see I've done a relatively small rexus. That's what I do. I like small ones. Removing OVD first from behind and then in front. And then now I'm going to take the spatula and rotate the IOL into the 90-degree position. Here I'm just going to vacuum a little bit there. There we go. Nice and still, Richard. Almost done. So there you can see that we're parallel to the marks. And now I'm going to lower IOP. Yeah, don't talk now, Richard. Your head, I want nice and still. IOP nice and low before I come out, so we don't get iris prolapse. Yeah, the operation's all done. Nice and still.
Okay.
And here I'm just doing some stromal hydration. And then we're going to go irrigate the chamber angle. Get rid of the OVD there. And adjust IOP. With my nice loose glove, I can feel it and it's good and remaining good. So we're done.